Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life. I hope you're well. Today I am talking about the perimenopause, what it is and how to sail through it naturally. There's so much attention, deservedly, on the menopause right now. It's International Menopause Month, which is great news for all women going through it. But as menopause is still regarded as something that happens in your 50s officially, we really need to be talking about the perimenopause. The perimenopause is that transition between your reproductive years and your postmenopause, which officially happens a year after your final period. So these years in between, which can start in your 30s and kind of end in your 50s, so it's a big chunk of your life. And it can be really difficult for many women. So 80% of women are thought to suffer symptoms, and they can range from mild to fairly debilitating. Women giving up their jobs, failing their relationships, all sorts of consequences. Symptoms are far-ranging. They go from fatigue, mood swings, irregular or heavy or painful periods, PMS, brain fog, memory loss, poor sleep, weight gain, hot flushes, night sweats, depression, anxiety, hair loss, joint pain, low libido, vaginal dryness. The list goes on and on. But there is good news. Don't worry. So first of all, do you know if you're in it? Well, if you're over 35 and you have symptoms and you're still having your periods, yes, you're in perimenopause. Many doctors will tell you that you're too young. They might want to test your FSH or LH hormones, but all that's doing is actually telling you that the brain is telling your hormones to make more of them. So yes, you're in perimenopause. That's the nature of it. So the test isn't really telling you anything you don't know if you've got symptoms and you're over 35. So it's not really that helpful. Much more useful to get your hormones properly measured, but we can talk about that another time. So what are the drivers of perimenopause? Well, of course, your age. I've talked about if you're over 35, your eggs are starting to run out, your ovaries are starting to change and become more erratic with your ovulation. This affects the production of estrogen and progesterone. Both hormones are starting a bit of a long, slow decline towards final menopause. On the way to that, they can fluctuate wildly, particularly estrogen, not so much progesterone, that just dips. And that can feel like a roller coaster of mood swings and brain fog and joint and all the rest of it that you get. So you can be on a bit of an estrogen roller coaster. So that's one driver is obviously age, and this is something that all women go through, whether you suffer or not. The next driver is stress. So any kind of stress on the body can be a major disruptor to your perimenopausal journey, and it's for me it's the number one disruptor. It's the number one determinant of how well you'll go through this journey is how stressed your body is. And it doesn't really, I'm not just talking about outside stress and circumstances, I'm talking also about internal stresses on the body. And that can range from things like toxins or food sensitivities or infections that are underlying or inflammation. Those are all kind of, or blood sugar imbalance, they're all kind of different internal stressors. So you may not be even aware of what those stressors are. But cortisol is raised in all of those cases. And that not only has an impact on your energy, your mood, how your brain works and you think, but also your metabolism. It can suppress your thyroid, it can suppress your sex hormones and make those symptoms even worse as you're going through perimenopause. So stress is a big driver. Thyroid is another driver. So stress, a poor diet, gut health, or toxins can take a toll on your thyroid as well, as can wear and tear and age too, and genetics. So if your thyroid is struggling, that's going to affect your metabolism, your energy levels, your brain function, your joint pain, your hair, all sorts of things. And that extra weight as well, which isn't, you're going to be just really, it's really hard to shift. Your diet is another driver. Diet's incredibly important, those nutrients, because your hormones need a whole set of nutrients to work properly. And if they're already getting out of balance, they're going to need those even more. So if you're not packing in the protein, the healthy fats, the tons and tons of phytonutrients that you get from fruit and vegetables, then you're likely going to be missing a few nutrients. And if you're eating too many carbs, the wrong kind of carbs, or if you're too stressed out, then you might be on that blood sugar roller coaster as well, which also increases your insulin and that messes with your hormones as well. So all these things have an impact on how your symptoms are going to present. The other driver is toxins, so things like endocrine disrupting chemicals that I've talked about before. These chemicals in our environment, in our products, especially women's products, female products, or things that smell nice, they can mimic or alter your hormone balance, especially estrogen. So that again is something that we need to be thinking about. Another driver are things like medications. They can, certain medications are going to disrupt your hormones, things like the birth control pill, the wrong kind of HRT, steroids, antidepressants, that kind of thing. They can have an impact as well. So we want to be looking at that and really sort of trying to get to the root cause of things rather than maybe papering over them with certain medications. Obviously, certain medications are absolutely needed, but others are just papering over the cracks or managing symptoms where we can really get to the root cause of them. We can then not need that management of symptoms. Another driver is liver. Your liver, if it's overloaded and sluggish and it's struggling to process and eliminate toxins and hormones, then your hormone metabolism can be affected. So things like alcohol, caffeine, drugs, hydration, all that's really, really important to kind of manage and make sure your liver's working properly. And then your gut. Gut is always implicated in any of these things that I talk about, because if it's not working well, not only is your brain function affected, but your hormones are affected too. They may not be metabolized properly. They may not be converting properly, because a lot of that happens in the gut. So inflammation in the gut is caused by things like either underlying infections, so your microbial balance, your whole microbiome, your gut bugs might be out of balance, or food sensitivities, or a lack of enzymes or digestive function. And all of that can be an issue as we get older as well. So let's get on to the good stuff. What can you do? Obviously, there are medical options. HRT is the right kind of HRT. Body identical is what you need. That is great for any kind of estrogen progesterone imbalance. So that's going to help with that if that's an option for you. However, if you don't want to take it, or you can't take it for any reason, or even if you are taking it, you've got to do the basics. You've got to implement the right diet and lifestyle foundations, because it's not just about estrogen and progesterone. Menopause and perimenopause is about those other hormones as well that I talk about: cortisol, thyroid, insulin, and a whole host of other hormones that need balancing as well, that are going to have an impact. So HRT does one job, but there's a whole load of other stuff that you need to be doing and making sure your hormones are balanced, but also you're in good health as you get older anyway, because HRT is not going to keep you healthy forever unless you're doing all these other things, right? So diet is incredibly important. You want to be balancing your blood sugar. That's the priority. We don't want lots of insulin running around. It's inflammatory. If you're on a blood sugar roller coaster, you're going to be tired and moody and foggy, and you're going to have that sort of excess fat storage as well. So balancing your blood sugar is really important. Protein and healthy fats at each meal. Your carbs should be the veggie type carbs rather than any kind of refined carbohydrates. If you do that at each meal and you don't snack too much, you're in a really good place for balancing your blood sugar. And start with breakfast. Make sure that's a really good protein, healthy fat type breakfast. And then it's so much easier to do that throughout the day. Number 2 is include phytoestrogens. They're going to be really helpful to manage that fluctuating estrogen in particular. So these are plant-like estrogens that come from foods like organic soy. And I always say organic soy, don't go for processed soy or sweetened soy milk or anything like that, or soy yogurts that have loads of sugar in, and go for the organic type, so that's unprocessed and as close to the original food as possible. Flax seeds are another great source of phytoestrogens. So lots of milled flax seeds. Your body can't crunch them on its own, so you need to mill them first. But those bags of like Linwoods, flax seeds, great for things like that. You can throw them on everything. They don't really taste of much. Get them in your smoothies, get them on your yogurts and your porridges and all of that. It really, really helps with estrogen, but it also helps with your bowels. Really good for constipation, get your bowels moving, and general fibre. And they've got tons of nutrients in them, or just on their own. Gut and liver support, really important. So get those cruciferous vegetables in, help your liver detoxification pathways, the broccolis, the cabbages, the kales, the Brussels sprouts, all that stuff. Don't just keep Brussels sprouts for Christmas. Get them in your diet, or all those other things, cabbages, all the cabbages. Help with estrogen clearance. And we want to be hydrating as well. That's going to help the bowels to keep moving. And hydration is obviously a no-brainer anyway. You want to be looking at your environmental toxins and influences, so minimizing those as much as possible. So just eating organic where possible to avoid the pesticides, a big endocrine disruptor. We want to be avoiding BPA if we can in plastics, and then really looking at our phthalates. It's one of my weirdest words, but phthalates, I don't know how to say it, but anyway, phthalates, synthetic fragrances. There are in everything that smells nice that we women love, perfumes and shampoos and scented candles and air fresheners. I'm not saying throw them all out, but when you come to next replace them, maybe look at something that's made a bit more naturally with essential oils, something like Faith in Nature. Do a massive, great big range of products for the personal type products, and then things like Method for your laundry and your cleaning products, things like that, and really just not using those heavily scented candles and air fresheners, because when you inhale those fragrances straight into the bloodstream, and we really want to avoid just taxing our hormones even more than they're being taxed already. Activity is really important. So we want to be particularly increasing your NEAT movement, which is the non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's a big, long acronym. What it means is basically avoid sitting too much. So taking lots of breaks if you sit all day, and increasing your natural movement during the day. So standing more, walking more, taking the stairs, all that stuff that's good common sense, but they've actually doing some scientific studies on now, and it actually raises our BMR, our basal metabolic rate. So we're going to be burning more calories. We're going to be generally more healthy the more we move, but also important not to over exercise and stress the body out even more, because that just raises more cortisol, and it's actually counterproductive. The next thing is stress management and sleep. So rest and sleep. So managing your stress. I talk about this on every video, but it's so important to just carve out that 10 to 20 minutes a day for yourself and do whatever it takes to turn off your fight or flight response. Whether that's reading a book, doing some mindfulness, listening to a lovely mindfulness meditation, having a nap, that would work too. Listening to some calming music or your favorite music, or having a little dance, doing some cooking if that doesn't stress you out, gardening or walking in nature, whatever it is, just prioritize that in your day. And if you have to just get up a little bit earlier or take a break at lunchtime or whatever works for you in your day, just make sure you get that prioritized for yourself. That will do a huge amount in terms of balancing that cortisol. And then lastly, get help if you need it. So do not put up with these symptoms. As women, we tend to put up with things, we push through, we say, we think we're the least important people around, but we're not. We're the most important people, because we tend to look after everyone else. And if we're not good, then everyone else is going to suffer too. So get some help, reach out, come and talk to us about our testing, because then we can identify any underlying root causes, and or go to someone who can help you in any. There's a myriad of alternative therapies out there as well. So, or go talk to your doctor about body identical HRT. Whatever works for you and is right for you, but don't not do anything. So do ask for help if you're suffering. Hope that was helpful. I'll see you next time. Take care.